Hum. Om. Ah. Even just humming is a way to accentuate one's vocal cords, one's throat, one's mouth, one's lungs, one's increasing awareness as we're going over the items that are involved. One's heart nestled between one's lungs, one's torso. Eventually, we reach everything that we have up to our skin, and honestly, beyond, because we know that heat is emanating from our bodies at all times. And it's just not one type of energy being emanated, but it is, to you and I, unknown. But we both can surmise there's a great deal going on that we're unaware of, just as people 1,000 years ago were unaware of the things that you and I take for granted in our lives today. I'm sure that we'll continue in this way. It is evolution at play. It is much greater and grander than you or I or our opinions. It is the way of our universe to evolve, to become more complex. It's really a fascinating study to make of what's going on, and a way to claim a sense of humility, because we see it is so much more than what we are. And in shrinking our own focus from ourselves and expanding it towards the universe, towards creation, we see the disparity between an individual and everything, and we have to be humble. It is natural to have a sense of realism when one makes this consideration. Wow, to be in awe, to have a sense of reverence of just what this is we are part of. Today I wrote down, just before I began the podcast, a question. What are our priorities and why? We, as part of this ever-changing universe of the oscillation of energy, and many layers of energy. It's not just one layer of energy, right? The subatomic particles, those that are more energy than a physical presence, turn into the constituents of atoms, which in turn become molecules, which in turn become elements and compounds, which in turn become more and more complex conglomerations of matter. And yet we're all the same, but nonetheless, the point being is there are many levels of our reality, of our being. Considering Homo sapiens, the opportunity for humility rises. Humility is a good thing. It is helpful in attaining a greater perspective, because your ego doesn't get in the way. Oh, I know the world is flat. You can't tell me it's round, says a person who has spent their life at sea in the year 1500. I can see there's an edge there in the distance. It is always there. That is a perspective. But as we know, it is not necessarily the correct one. When one has a little greater perspective, one has more experiences. In this case, traveling further distances across the ocean. Thinking about this statement again, what are our priorities and why? Well, it's a good question, isn't it? What are my priorities? Because each of us are thinking for ourselves. How is this influencing me? How is this helping me? How is this entertaining my mind, my potential, my future, my possibilities of what I might become, what I can become, what I am becoming? You see the three ways we go from one to the next to the affirmation. What are my priorities? That's a big question. And each of us is going to have our own answers, depending upon not only our own personality, but our circumstances. What is our amount of experience that we've gone through in our lives? Meaning, what is one's age? If one is a youngster, they're going to have one perspective. If someone is, let's say, middle-aged, they're going to have a different. And if they're older, they're going to have a different again. And what of one's environment? If one is always single, then that's one perspective. If one has a significant other and then has also children, this is another. So there's a lot going on. Importantly, knowing from what we've just been saying, we're all going to have different priorities, understood. Are there priorities we share? In our case, as a group interested in self-improvement and mindful meditation, then the answer is, of course, yes, we do have. We probably have a lot of similarities and a lot of the same priorities, but nonetheless, healthiness, for instance, can be one's priority and should be. Am I consuming enough water? Am I getting enough protein? Am I getting enough balance of the minerals and vitamins this body needs? Is my mind being taken care of? These kinds of things. Am I getting enough rest? These are priorities for our physical being. And so the other side of the physical is our spiritual or our mental being. And what are the priorities for this? You and I already discussed have an interest in evolving ourselves into better human beings. It is more than an admirable goal because it is that which is helping lift us up one rung, one step at a time. It is why mankind is so special. We have the tools to do this. We can look back over the last 5,000, 10,000 years and see how we've already changed. And yet we see we need more. We see the circumstances that surround us, which are wars and rebellions and, all these different things, ecological catastrophes. All of these different things point to the potential of improvement if we take advantage of our potential. And we are. I know we each have our own goals and our own time frame. Of course, we do. It's natural. Again, we're each unique. So the common elements we share in our priorities are our healthiness for sure, and that revolves around both one's physical and one's mental states. The physical, we know. We have a good idea. Science has discovered all these things, but the mental, not so much. A little bit. But how do we go about adding an exclamation point after the statement? By being actively aware, seeking more active participation in our query and our journey towards accumulating more experience. Because we're accumulating experience in every moment of our time. But we spend it in mindful meditation, 15 minutes, whatever one does. And there it is. You increased it by that amount. It's a positive step. Perhaps you find yourself at midday doing it again, or in one's afternoon, laying down, taking a nap, or maybe taking a few minutes of personal time. Here we go again. Rediscovering one's foundation. Rekindling, remembering the vitality of the Homo sapiens we each are. These priorities are more or less filled and unfilled every day. Sometimes one eats too much, right? Sometimes one eats too little. Sometimes someone drinks enough fluids to properly and efficiently clean one's body, and at other times one doesn't. This is the modulations in the energy. And so too with our mind. Sometimes we spend enough time developing a rapport with our foundational beings, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we make an extra effort to utilizing our tools, of which we have many, to further our consciousness, our perceptivity, and sometimes we don't. And we go back and forth. And that's okay. That's natural. That's what people do. That's what the result of multitasking helps create this scenario and the increasing complexity of our civilization upon this planet. There's a lot going on. We need to have these different senses, these different virtues, recognizing the elements of our conversation, because we need to be understanding of why we do what we do. One needs to be understanding of this. It is crucially important. It is in this way one transcends being angry or mad or disappointed or sorrowful into being at least neutral and more likely positive, even when a circumstance is easily considered to be negative or a failure or going in the wrong direction. It is the opposite of a success, degrees in both. To be ebullient and overcome with the enthusiasm of success may lead to distress, because things change, overextend themselves. Just as what's happened recently in the stock market or the gold market, the commodities market, the dollar is falling. All these things that are going on. What do they herald? Views upon the world. That's what they are. I like it, I don't like it. I want to participate in it, I don't want to participate in it. Government intervention or not. There's a lot going on. And we're here to perceive it with all kinds of devices, be it a text message of a book or a newspaper or looking at one's internet, something we hear, music, songs of messages, movies, the actions of others around us, our own. There's a lot to consider every day. In every moment. So if one is kind and understanding of this, then how much easier is it to begin making the effort to change, to improve, to find and witness what you are doing and make considerations for improvement, redeploying one's assets, one's thoughts, being here now, present, in your own body, with your own heart, mind, and soul. Breathing turns into pulsing, turns into heating, turns into the shimmering majesty of our beings. Now we feel it. It wasn't that it wasn't here a moment ago. It is we were not. It is up to you and I to raise the level of our flowing awareness every day, allowing and accepting our responsibilities, allowing and participating in evolving habitual practice. The music continues for another minute. Have a fabulous day. Think about your being often. Namaste.